Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Journey's Whole Group. I just want to reiterate and say how awesome you guys did yesterday on our first day of Whole Group, and I can't wait to see you guys do the same thing today. So, with that being said, let's start day 2 of Whole Group with Miss Pichetti. Just like yesterday, I'm going to give you an overview of what we are going to do today during Whole Group. Yesterday we did vocabulary, but we only did the first 4. Today we're going to finish up the second half of the vocabulary, and then we're going to go over the grammar for today and for the lesson, and then we're going to do a second read of the anchor text. All right, so now let's get started with our lesson for today. Get those listening ears on, get those morning stretches in, and let's get ready to learn. All right, so our second half of the vocabulary. Just like yesterday, I want you to repeat after me. Our first word today is proud. Repeat after me. Proud. Great job. Proud, used in a sentence. These young actors feel proud of their terrific performance in a school play. In other words, proud means pleased with yourself or someone else. I'm sure that you have been proud of somebody, proud of what they did. If you're on a sports team, you're proud of your teammates' effort during practice or during the game. Our other word for today that we're going to go over is announced. Repeat after me. Announced. Fantastic. Listen carefully as I read the word announced in the sentence. Each day, a different student announced school news over a loudspeaker. In other words, announced means made known. I'm sure plenty of you have heard, if not all of you have heard your principal or somebody announce something over the loudspeaker. Our next word is fine. Repeat after me. Fine. Excellent job, scholars. Fine used in a sentence. The sun shines and the air is clear. It is a fine day for the schoolyard sale. Fine or very nice. And our last word for today is the word certainly. Repeat after me. Certainly. Excellent job. Now listen carefully as I read the word certainly as it's used in a sentence. We certainly should turn off lights when not using them. This surely saves energy. And again, our 4 vocabulary words that we used and learned today: proud, announced, fine, and certainly. Now, as you read the anchor text and listen to the anchor text, you will hear and read these vocabulary words. During this lesson, we are going to learn a new grammar skill. The grammar skill that we're going to learn today is simple sentences. Listen carefully as I read a description. A sentence is a group of words that tells a complete thought. The subject of a simple sentence tells whom or what the sentence is about. The subject usually comes at the beginning of the sentence. The subject can be one word or more than one word. The complete subject includes all the words in the subject. Our teacher loves school is the sentence. Who is the subject? Or what is the subject? In other words, who or what is the sentence about? Can somebody raise their hand? Excellent answer. In that sentence, the subject would be the teacher. So you would underline our teacher. In the next sentence, all of our desks are neat. What's the subject in that sentence? Thank you. All our subjects. To identify the subject, I ask, whom or what is the sentence about? In the first sentence, our teacher tells whom the sentence is about. In the second sentence, all our desks tell what the sentence is about. Excellent job, ladies and gentlemen. So when you're in small group today and you're filling out your independent work, you will see some grammar pages in there talking about the subject of a simple sentence. Now we're going to listen to the text of Fine, Fine School again. So we're going to do a second read. As you listen to the story, I want you to think about how you would fill out the graphic organizer or the story map to the right of the screen that you see up there. That story map says setting, which is where the story takes place, characters, who is in the story, and the plot. And remember, your plot has a beginning, middle, and an end. Okay? So listen carefully as we begin the story.
By Harry Bliss. Every morning he strolled down the hallway and saw the children in their classes. He saw them learning shapes and colors and numbers and letters. He saw them reading and writing and drawing and painting. He saw them making dinosaurs and forts and pyramids. Oh, he would say, aren't these fine children? Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? Near Mr. Keen's school, Tilly lived with her parents and her brother and her dog, Beans, in a small house next to a big tree. On Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. At school, Tilly learned her shapes and colors and numbers and letters. Sometimes, when she saw Mr. Keen standing in the hallway, he waved. Aren't these fine children? He said to himself. Aren't these fine teachers? Isn't this a fine, fine school? On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, Tilly climbed her favorite tree and she took Beans on walks and threw him sticks. Let go now, Beans. And she pushed her brother on a swing and tried to teach him how to skip. Be one with the skip. But on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, Tilly went off to school. Beans and her brother did not like to see her go. Hurry, hurry, hurry home, her brother called. One day Mr. Keen called all the students and the teachers together and said, This is such a fine, fine school. I love this school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Saturdays too. The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keen that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers and all of the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Saturday, Tilly set off for school. But it's Saturday. What about the swings? Her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene announced, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love the school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school on Sundays too." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Sundays, but no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, that Sunday, Tilly set off for school. "But it's Sunday! What about the skipping?" her brother called. The following month, Mr. Keene called everyone together again and said, "This is such a fine, fine school. I love the school. Let's have more school. From now on, let's have school in the summer, too, all summer long, every single day." "How much will we learn?" he said. "We can learn everything. We can learn all about the numbers and letters, colors and shapes, the Romans and the Egyptians and the Greeks. We will learn about dinosaurs and castles and everything. We will learn everything." The teachers and the students did not want to go to school on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays and all summer long, every single day. But no one knew how to tell Mr. Keene that. He was so proud of the children and the teachers, of all the learning they were doing every day. And so, on the first day of summer, Tilly set off for school. "But it's summer! What about summer?" her brother called. And that day, Tilly went to see Mr. Keene. She stood in his office in front of his desk. "What a fine, fine school this is," Mr. Keene said. "What amazing things everyone is learning." "Yes," Tilly said, "we certainly are learning some amazing things." "A fine, fine school," Mr. Keene said. "But," Tilly said, "not everyone is learning." "What?" Mr. Keene said. He looked very worried. Who? Who isn't learning? Tell me, and I will see that they learn." "My dog, Beans, hasn't learned how to sit," Tilly said. "And he hasn't learned how to jump over the creek." "Oh," Mr. Keene said, "and my little brother hasn't learned how to swing or skip." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. "And I," she said. "But you go to school," Mr. Keene said, "to our fine, fine school." "True," Tilly said, "but I haven't learned how to climb very high in my tree, and I haven't learned how to sit in my tree for a whole hour." "Oh," Mr. Keene said. That day Mr. Keene walked up and down the halls, looking at the children and the teachers. Up and down he walked, up and down, up and down. The next morning Mr. Keene called everyone together. The children and the teachers were very worried. Mr. Keene said, "This is a fine, fine school with fine, fine children and fine, fine teachers, but not everyone is learning." The children and the teachers were very, very worried. Mr. Keene said, "There are dogs who need to learn how to sit and how to jump creeks." What did he mean? Was he going to make their dogs come to school? "There are little brothers and sisters who need to learn how to swing and how to skip." What did he mean? Was he going to make their youngest brothers and sisters come to school too? The children and the teachers were very, very worried. "And you, all of you, children and teachers, you need to learn how to climb up a tree and sit in it for an hour," Mr. Keene said. The children and the teachers were very worried. "And from now on, we will not have school on Saturdays or Sundays or in the summer." A huge, enormous, roaring cheer soared up to the ceiling and floated out the window so that everyone in the town heard the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers shout, "Fine, fine, fine." And the fine, fine children and the fine, fine teachers lifted Mr. Keene up, and they carried him down the hallway and out the doors, through the town, up and down, in and out. And everywhere they went, the people said, "What a fine, fine school with such fine, fine teachers and fine, fine children and a fine, fine principal." The end.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. to our story of Fine School again. Let's go over the characters. Who were the characters in our story? Awesome job. And I'll just note that down over here. The setting, fantastic. The beginning, awesome job. The middle, thank you so much, great answer. And finally, the ending, awesome.
By Harry Blake.
So just to reiterate what you guys just told me, the setting is at a school and at Tilly's house. Our characters, Mr. Keene, who's the principal, Tilly and Tilly's little brother. And the beginning, Mr. Keene tells people at school that it is a fine school. Tilly plays with her brother and dog on the weekends. Mr. Keene decides school will be open on Saturdays. So it was a great response by you scholars. And in the middle, the teachers and students do not want to go on Saturdays, but they don't know how to tell him. The next month, Mr. Keene tells everyone that school will be open on Sundays too. And lastly, you guys said the teachers and students do not want to go to school every day of the week, but they can't tell him. And in the ending, you guys said Mr. Keene sees that the students and teachers are unhappy. He decides there will be no school on Saturday or Sunday. The children and teachers cheer. You guys had some great responses. I could tell your listening ears were on. I'm very proud of you. Now it's time to hit the books again and do your small group and independent work. Scholars, it was great as always to meet with you this morning. I hope you enjoyed day 2 of Journeys, and I will see you back again tomorrow.